So Cody, let's start with you. What was it like when you first saw these two as your characters come to life?
It was one of the most surreal and awesome experiences of my life because, funny story, before the book even came out, I actually had written on my blog that I thought Mae Whitman would be a great Bianca.
Yeah.
So a while later, when the movie was happening, I got a phone call saying, "You're not going to believe this." And then I found out that Robbie had been cast, and I was like, "Oh, I know that name." And I looked it up. Yeah, who's that guy? And then I found out he was Scooby on How I Met Your Mother. But I was like, oh, that's a great Wesley. The best, though, is my mom called me after she found out that he'd been cast, and she's like, I looked this guy up. He's really good looking. He's a great Wesley. So I was like, my mom approved.
Mom.
Yeah.
I love it.
Definitely your like moms across the world will approve of you.
Yes,
sure.
mothers everywhere are proud.
So did you guys channel any classic teen movie characters to play your roles? I mean, I felt like there was a little Easy A, Olive, Emma Stone in your character
definitely.
a little bit.
I think the idea of like kind of like an anti-hero, like, you know, the underdog, kind of it being their story is like really appealing and cool. And, you know, I think we also wanted to bring in some of like the John Hughes elements and the Pretty in Pink. You know, it's like the messiness that's sort of you're frazzled and you're messy and you don't know yet. And, you know, it's such a like interesting time to grow and sort of find out who you are. And I mean, I still feel like messy and frazzled all the time. So to me, it felt like a really good personal story of, you know, that, and I've never really had a problem with that, but I remember when I was in school sort of first being made to, you know, be aware or having people try to make you feel ashamed about things about yourself that you never otherwise would have noticed. And so I felt like it was a really important story for me to tell because I went through this, you know, being labeled in high school, and I feel like even, you know, in my job, I tend to be like categorized as like the quirky girl or the messy best friend or the whatever, you know, and it's kind of like, it's nice to actually have like just me be who I am and kind of tell that story.
Right. Did you channel anyone in particular?
The beginning of the movie when the character's a little more
Tom Brady.
stereotypical. That one was kind of a stretch for me just because I say some very mean things without realizing they're mean. But I actually brought a lot of myself to the second half of the character, which, you know, hearing Mae say that she did the same, I think that's probably part of the reason that we got along so well and the chemistry was so great, because we got to kind of just be versions of ourselves and try and make each other laugh and have a good time.
I think that's one of the beauties of the things that you did with the character of Wesley, though, is that, like, yeah, he says some mean things at the beginning, but he never comes off as a mean guy. Like, you can kind of tell, even in the beginning, like, he doesn't really think about what he's saying. He's just not thinking when he speaks. And I love that because that's what Wesley is like in the book, too. Like, he's not trying to be a jerk. Like, he just doesn't really think about it.
He doesn't really get it.
And I loved how they were, like, friends. They grew up together. It's not like the classic thing where she's bullied by everybody right off the bat, and, like, he doesn't, you know, like, he's mean to her, and then he's nice to her. It's like, they're friends. He's always thought she was cool and whatever. It's just like they sort of split off into different paths, and, you know, so their kind of path of finding their way back to each other, I think, is pretty cool.
So if you could remake a classic teen movie, which one would it be and who would you play?
Such a good question. I guess I was talking last night about, I forgot about Some Kind of Wonderful, and I just love that movie so much because, you know, the best friend role in it is so, like, she's just, like, unapologetically, like, punky and, like, well, you're stupid and we're meant to be together, and if you don't get it, then screw you. Like, I always, like, liked that kind of, her, like, power in that role, and she's, like, you know, like, knows herself, and there's, you know, one moment where she's sort of like, should I dress up? Should I wear this? Should I wear these different clothes? But she never changes who she is, and I feel like that's kind of what, you know, brought me to this as well, is like she kind of tries on these different clothes or tries different attitudes, you know, things that, because we all go through that where we're like, if you're going through something tough and you're not being accepted, you're like, well, is there something I can change to make it more, you know, easy to get through this? And then you sort of realize that, no, like, changing yourself for someone else is never the answer to help you find who you are. So I really like that movie.
I would like to see, like, a modernized Breakfast Club because, like, I love that movie. I still think it holds up so well, but the cliques are a little different now, and I think the Duff actually kind of points that out at the beginning, which I love. And if I was an actress and going to be in it, I would totally be the Ali Sheedy role. Nice. Like, just because how much fun would that be just to be like, all the time?
I would never want to remake the movie because it's such a classic. But if it had never been made, Ferris Bueller's Day
I was
Off.
gonna say you should do Ferris Bueller. I swear.
It's my favorite.
It really is, and that's a great thing with the cliques too. Like when she like goes on that whole rant about all the different kinds of like cliques sitting at the tables and stuff. That's got like such an amazing thing too. You'd be so good.
Oh, it'd be fun. But you couldn't.
And you'd be
you can't.
Cameron, right? Just
Yeah, of
kidding.
course.
I would be Ferris.
Well, I'm closer to the principal at this point.